Hi everyone, it's Evangeline here at etrailer, and today we'll be taking a look at the RockyMounts MonoRail 2-bike platform rack right here on our 2014 Toyota Prius V. So the RockyMounts MonoRail is a very versatile bike rack. It can carry electric bikes, fat tire bikes, and your bikes of different shapes and sizes. It also has some features that makes it super easy to get your bike on there and then hit the road. So we'll talk about those features and those specs, but we're going to focus on our Prius V today. As you know, the Prius V stands for versatile, so I personally think it's a great pairing of this bike rack with this vehicle because of the versatility. But let's take a look at that. That way you can see what is the better fit for you, your different types of bikes, and your vehicle. So the first feature we'll take a look at is the tilt away feature. So with your bikes on the bike rack, you just go ahead and pull that bright blue lever on the inside of the rack and then just let it drop down to a tilt. Why would you tilt your bike rack away? Well, if you want to open up your hatch. So as you can see here, opening this up, we have plenty of clearance between our door, our pedals, and our handlebars, meaning I can go in there, grab whatever I need, whether it's my bags, my helmets, my waters. I can do so real quick without having to go through the process of taking my bike off. Once I've gotten what I needed, I just lift up on the rack and it snaps into place in the upright position, and now I'm ready to hit the road. Now this bike rack has a weight capacity of 60 pounds per bike. So if you have your extra heavy electric bikes, perfectly fine with those. And that's because of the way it holds your bike down. So we have two different touch points. You have the rear wheel strap, and then you have the front wheel mount. I like pretty much any bike that has that front wheel mount because it secures your bike by the front wheel and you don't have to get a frame mount or make any contact with your frame. So your bikes of different shapes and sizes, let's say you have a carbon fiber frame, perfectly fine with that. You have a women's bike, children's bike, or a step-through frame. Sometimes those hooks don't come down far enough and you have to get a bike adapter bar. Since this holds it by the front wheel, no worries with that. When we want to take the bike off though, we start at the rear wheel strap. So we have this bright blue button. You just press that button and then that releases the strap. Then you go over here to the front and you begin to take the bike off. So then make sure to hold on to your frame as you press this big blue button. That releases our front wheel mount. Push that out and then just grab the bike and you're ready to hit the trails. With the bike off, let's take a closer look at the bike rack itself. So here we have our rear cradle. Notice how this tilts back and forth to accommodate those different wheelbases. So the maximum wheelbase you can carry with this is going to be up to 48 inches. You have those grooves on the inside of that cradle. That means whether you have your thin road bike tires or your wider fat bike tires of up to 5 inches, you can carry those with this rack. Then we have our front wheel mount. So this secures your bike by the front wheel. We talked about that earlier. And then when you're making this nice and compact, I actually tuck this behind our rear cradle. With all of this is now in the just nice and neat position. Now when you have things on your hitch, it does add a little bit of length to the back of your vehicle. So we'll take some measurements here. I'm going to measure from our bumper on our Prius V to the end of the rack right there, and that's going to be 32.5 inches. So definitely a measurement to keep in mind when you're backing into your garage or trying to park into a really tight spot. The good news is that you already have a relatively smaller vehicle, so you do have some space to spare. Now let's talk about ground clearance. So ground clearance is measured at the end of the rack to the ground. I'll go underneath the stopper, and that's 17 inches. Compare that measurement with underneath the shank, and that's 11 inches, which actually isn't the lowest ground clearance I've seen, but still not the tallest either. So when you're going up those steep inclines like your driveways or hills, your front's going to go up, your back is going to go down, and you want to make sure you have a good shank rise. That way your bike sit higher up off the ground. The good news is that you only have to lift your bike 22 inches up off the ground. If you have extra heavy electric bikes, that's a good thing. It's not that high up. But what if you're not planning on going out for a bike ride just yet, but you also don't want to take the bike rack off? What you can do is you can pull this lever, and instead of tilting it away like we did earlier, you can push up on it and it catches into place in the upright position. Let's take some more measurements. With it folded up like this, the closest point is going to be from the bumper to that front wheel mount, and that's 3 inches of clearance, so plenty of clearance there. The length this bike rack now adds to the back of our Prius V is from the bumper to the end of the shank, 14 inches. So big difference compared to when this is folded down. You'll want it in this position when you're just driving around town. In fact, I drove around with this bike rack on my vehicle just going down the highway because I wanted to look cool, but I also wanted to be ready to pick up the bike whenever I needed to. With this sitting up like this, you aren't going to be able to open up your hatch. You're going to just have to bring this into the down position, but it doesn't really cover much behind your vehicle. So taking a look over here, our rear windshield is completely visible, so you'll be able to see out of that. Our taillights are visible as well. It kind of covers your license plate, and your backup camera is offset towards the driver's side. So when I drove around with this bike rack behind me, I was still able to see the view behind me, even though this was kind of in the way. Now installed on my Prius V today is a 2-inch hitch from Eco Hitch. So this has a 2-inch shank that fits right into there. I have an etrailer hitch pin alignment collar because this is a heavy rack. It makes it easier to tighten down. Now you have a 3/4 inch anti-rattle bolt and a lock on the end. So that lock actually, that is unlocked right now. That's key to like to this lock up here for your cable lock. So you put your cable lock up here, lock that into place. Then you put this lock around your anti-rattle bolt, lock that into place, and then you only need to use one key to access the entire thing. So I do use a 3/4 inch socket to tighten that down. We have extras here at eTrailer if you want to get one to keep inside of your trunk. But anyways, with that anti-rattle tightened down, as I shake our bike rack just to simulate that road movement and vibration, I'm mainly just moving the vehicle at this point, showing how that connection is nice and secure. Here on our test course, we'll start by going through the slalom. This is going to show us the side-to-side action, which simulates turning corners or evasive maneuvers. Once we get to the alternating speed bumps, we'll see the twisting action. This will simulate hitting a curb or a pothole or driving over uneven pavement. Now lastly, we're going over some full speed bumps, and we can see here the up and down action, and this will just be like driving in and out of a parking lot, garage, or driveway. So my personal thoughts about the RockyMounts MonoRail is it's definitely a versatile bike rack. You saw how we could carry those bikes of different shapes, different sizes. In fact, this one you have the ability to add onto it if you need to carry around more than 2 bikes. I personally, if you are using this rack, recommend getting the 2-inch hitch on your Prius V. If you do have an 1.25 inch, there is an 1.25 inch version of this, but you max out at 2 bikes with that one. So make sure to get the right bike rack for you. If you want something with a little bit more premium of a feel, but a similar style, that's going to be the Kuat NV 2.0. That one has the same weight capacity, but in that case, you also get a possible repair stand for that, and you have smoother movements and integrated cable locks. But other than that, for something that can carry around all those different bikes at a relatively affordable price, the RockyMounts MonoRail is definitely my go-to. So this was a look at our RockyMounts MonoRail 2-bike platform rack on our 2014 Toyota Prius V.